All right, let's crush an Mtel question. This one says, use the table below to answer the question that follows. We've got a few x values and a few y values, and it says, which of the following equations represents the function described by the points in the table? All right, so typically I think the easiest way to read a linear equation is in slope-intercept form. It gives you a lot of useful information. You get the slope and the y-intercept out of it, so it's a lot easier to picture an equation. That looks like y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and b is your y-intercept. So we can calculate slope by finding the rise over the run. It's the change in the y over the change in the x. So if we take two of these y values and put those over the change in the 2x and two of the x values, we'll be able to calculate the slope. So I'm going to make my m calculation. M equals, I'm going to pick 2 points. I'll just use 2 2/3 and 2 and 2 3 for my x values. So the second 2 points, the second and third points in the table. So m equals the change in y over the change in x. So m equals 2 2/3 minus 2. So our first y value minus our second y value. That's going to be over our first x value minus our second x value, so 2 minus 3. So our m is going to be 2 2/3 minus 2, which is just 2/3, divided by 2 minus 3, which is just -1. 2 2/3 divided by -1 is just -2/3. So our slope in our equation should be -2/3. So I'm going to plug that into our equation here for m. So it's y equals -2/3 times x plus b. So we still don't have our b for our equation. So how can we figure out our b? Well, one way to do it is just to plug any one of these points into this equation, because that gives us an x and a y, and then we can just solve for b. So I'm just going to choose our second, or the last point here, because it uses whole numbers. So our y value is 2, and that equals our m, -2/3, times our x value, which is 3, plus b, which is what we're looking for. Now we can just solve this equation for b. -2/3 times 3. So basically you're dividing by 3 and then multiplying by 3. You're taking -2, dividing by 3, then multiplying by 3. So that just equals -2 plus b. And then all we have to do is add that. So this is a -2. So to cancel that out, to move that over to the other side, we're just going to add by 2. So we get 4 equals b. And that gives us our full equation, which is now, if I plug that 4 in for b, our equation should be -2/3 x plus 4. So none of these equations look like that, but we can manipulate them in order to make it look like that. So I know our slope needs to be -2/3, so I'm more inclined to try c or d, because they have these 2's and 3's on the y's and the x's. I don't think a and b are going to give us a slope of -2/3, so I'm going to go straight to c and d. So let's try c and see if that works. So first step to solve for y in c, which is what I want to do. You want to solve for y to make an equation look like y equals mx plus b. The first step that I want to do is subtract the 2x over. So we have 3y equals -2x plus 12. And then we'll just divide the whole equation by 3 to solve for y. So y equals -2/3 x plus 4. And that's exactly the equation we're looking for. So our answer is C.